On YouTube, there's a video that's called The Big Green Problem of Godzilla, and without further hesitation, let's respond to it.
In 2016, you had Shin Godzilla, a political satire that deconstructs the Japanese government's inability to respond to a crisis and save lives. The film is smart and genuinely scary. Even Shin Godzilla's design harkens back to the idea that Godzilla would be visually referential to the atomic bomb's mushroom cloud. Shin Godzilla uses the formula and idea of monster as metaphor and builds an impressive film around it. Then, just this year, Toho releases Godzilla -1, a period piece that takes place right before the original film and follows a kamikaze pilot who failed to sacrifice himself during the war. After returning home from the conflict, he must find a way to live with the shame and disgrace he has brought upon himself. The film is a metaphor for the struggles that Japanese society went through during the fallout from the conclusion of the Second World War. It also features some of the most intense and exciting action sequences the franchise has ever seen. Both of these recent films have been fueled by authorial visions and genuine attempts at saying something through the metaphorical language of monster movies. But not all Toho Godzilla movies are like this. Many of the films aspired to do nothing more than to bash the cinematic equivalent of action figures together for 2 hours. And there's a beauty in that simplicity.
As you guys can see, the argumentation in the video is that basically when it comes down to the Godzilla movies where Godzilla is fighting monsters, the movies themselves cannot necessarily be as thought-provoking in comparison to something like Shin Godzilla or -1. However, my main argumentation is the complete opposite. One of the main examples that I use for Godzilla being mindless fun comes directly from King Kong vs. Godzilla, but King Kong vs. Godzilla has a political message too. While it's true that King Kong and Godzilla were fighting that movie, the original movie was actually meant to be a political satire. One of the main characters in that movie was actually a TV producer, and he was very much obsessed with the ideas of getting as many views as possible. It was actually in direct response to Japanese society getting TV and TV replacing cinema. Another example that he brought up was Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, but that movie had political themes too. One of the ideas that the movie had was against the notion of extreme political spectrums. One of the characters represents unchecked capitalism, and the other character represents extreme leftism. Godzilla vs. a smog monster was about environmentalism. Mothra vs. Godzilla had prominent themes about greed. Godzilla vs. Biollante was about the idea of playing God and the consequences of that. Even Godzilla's Revenge was about bullying. So when this film bro says,
Many of the films aspired to do nothing more than to bash the cinematic equivalent of action figures together for 2 hours.
He clearly has a surface level reading in these movies. As I demonstrated, many of them could be just as thought-provoking as the solo films.